When I got engaged, my parents smiled and said, "We already told your best friend she could be your maid of honor." I hadn't even chosen yet. When I confronted them, they shrugged. "She deserves it more than your other friends." But the next day, my best friend slipped and revealed the real reason she was so eager to stand by my side. There's something about getting engaged that makes people show their true colors. I wasn't naive. I knew wedding planning came with its share of drama. Guest lists, budgets, venues. I expected stress. What I didn't expect was for my parents to completely blindside me within hours of me saying yes. It happened over brunch at their house where my fiancé, Jake, and I had gone to share the good news. I hadn't even finished showing them my ring before my mom clapped her hands together and beamed. "We already told Michelle she could be your maid of honor." I blinked. "What?" Dad nodded approvingly, as if this was the most normal thing in the world. "It just makes sense, honey. We were talking to her yesterday, and well, you know how much she means to us. We figured you'd pick her anyway, so we told her to start getting ready for the role." My stomach clenched. Michelle was my best friend, yes, but I had not chosen my maid of honor yet. I wasn't even thinking about the bridal party. I'd only been engaged for a day. I forced a laugh, trying to brush off my unease. "That's kind of jumping the GN, don't you think?" I hadn't even. Mom cut me off with a casual wave of her hand. "Oh, come on, sweetie. Michelle deserves it more than any of your other friends. She's practically family." Practically family. I should have been used to hearing that. Michelle had been around since childhood, practically stitched into my life like an extra limb I never asked for. Our mothers met when we were toddlers, and from that moment on, Michelle was always there. At first, it wasn't a big deal. Just two kids growing up side by side. But then came the comparisons. The endless, exhausting, soul-crushing comparisons. Michelle was always the golden child, even though she wasn't theirs. Michelle got straight A's? Why couldn't I apply myself more? Michelle was in the gifted program? Maybe I should work harder. Michelle got into an Ivy League school? If you had just studied more. It never ended. Even as adults, I could feel the difference. Mom would glow with pride talking about Michelle's big-shot corporate job, her beautiful house, her perfect little life. And when she turned to me, "Are you sure you're happy in your career? I mean, Michelle found something she really loves. That apartment of yours is nice, but Michelle just bought a place in the city. Oh, you should see it. Maybe you and Jake should consider something similar." I never measured up. And now, even at my own wedding, they were handing Michelle the starring role like it was their choice to make. I set my foot down. "Mom, Dad, you know I haven't even decided yet, right?" They exchange a look. One of those subtle, we already know better glances. "Oh, sweetheart." Mom sighed like I was being difficult. "Michelle has been there for you forever. She's practically your sister." Dad chimed in. "Honestly, we've always thought of her as part of the family. This just makes sense." I clenched my jaw. "But she's not my sister." Silence. Jake, who had been quiet the whole time, finally spoke up. "I think what she's saying is, this is her decision to make." His voice was steady, polite, but firm. Mom waved a dismissive hand. "Of course, we're just helping things along," but something felt off. The way they were pushing this. The way they spoke about Michelle. The fact that they had already talked to her before even mentioning it to me. It didn't sit right. And something deep in my gut told me this was bigger than just a maid of honor decision. That night, I called Michelle. I kept my voice light, casual. "Hey, so my parents told me they already talked to you about being my maid of honor." There was a brief pause. Then she let out a small laugh. "Oh, yeah. I mean, I just assumed you'd pick me. So when they brought it up, I said yes." My grip tightened on my phone. "You assume?" Another pause. Then her voice took on a tone that almost sounded smug. "Well, yeah. I mean, who else would you pick?" Something cold settled in my stomach. I swallowed. "Why are you so sure?" Michelle laughed lightly. "Oh, come on. I've been part of your family forever. Longer than," she stopped. But it was too late. "Longer than what?" My voice came out sharper than I intended. Another pause. Then, way too casually, "I just mean I've always been there. You know, your mom and dad have treated me like their daughter for years. I've probably been around them more than you have." My breath caught. There was something in the way she said it. Something that didn't feel like a joke. My heart pounded. "Michelle, why do you think you deserve this more than my other friends?" She hesitated. Then, quietly, "Because I've been part of your family longer than you have." I sat up straight. "What the hell does that mean?" Another awkward laugh. "Ugh, you're overthinking it. I just meant, I've always felt like I belonged with your parents. It's no big deal. No big deal. No big deal." I felt sick. The conversation ended soon after, but my head was spinning. Why did it feel like she had slipped? Like she had said something she wasn't supposed to? I needed answers. And there was only one person who might tell me the truth. My dad's younger brother, Uncle Anthony. He wasn't close to my parents. He lived 3 states away and only visited on rare occasions. But when I was younger, I got the sense that he knew things. I dialed his number. When he picked up, I didn't waste time. I told him everything. Michelle, my parents, the weird way she had phrased things. And when I finished, there was nothing but silence on the other end. Then he sighed. Listen, kid, there's something you should probably know. My hands felt clammy. What? Your mom and dad always wanted a different daughter. The words hit me like a slap. What? I whispered. Your mom. She had trouble getting pregnant. And when she finally did, she was convinced she was having a boy. They even had a name picked out. But then you came along, and, well, let's just say they weren't thrilled. I felt like the air had been sked out of the room. And then Michelle was born a year before you. A chill ran down my spine. And your parents, especially your mom, became obsessed with her. Everything suddenly made sense. The favoritism, the endless comparisons, the way they treated Michelle like she was theirs. They had wanted her all along. And now, even at my wedding, they were still trying to replace me. I gripped my phone tighter. Uncle Anthony, what else aren't you telling me? And that's when he told me something that made my blood run cold. Uncle Anthony hesitated. I could hear him exhaling on the other end of the line, like he was debating whether he should keep talking, like he was weighing the consequences of saying something that had been buried for a long time. Then, finally in a low voice, he said, "There's more." I pressed the phone tighter against my ear, my fingers trembling. More? Yeah, he sighed again. Your parents, they had a deal with Michelle's mom. My stomach dropped. A deal? Not officially, not on paper or anything, he said quickly. But when Michelle was little, her mom was struggling. You know, single parent, money problems, working multiple jobs. She didn't have much time for Michelle, and your mom, well, she just stepped right in, started helping out, watching her after school, paying for little things here and there. And eventually, she started treating Michelle like she was hers. The room suddenly felt too small. You're saying my mom raised her, he finished, at least part-time. And after a while, it was like Michelle was her kid. Your parents even offered to adopt her once. But Michelle's mom refused. Didn't stop them from acting like she belonged to them, though. I was speechless. Adoption? Adoption? That wasn't just casual babysitting. That wasn't just helping out a friend. That was trying to replace me before I was even born. Anthony kept going. Look, kid, I don't think they ever meant to hurt you. But the truth is, by the time you came along, Michelle was already their perfect daughter. You were just... He stopped. Just what? I whispered. Another sigh. The backup plan. I felt like I was going to be sick. The backup plan. It all made sense now. Why my parents never saw me as enough. Why Michelle was always first in their eyes. I had spent my whole life trying to earn their approval, trying to measure up to someone who wasn't even their child. I gritted my teeth. Do you think Michelle knows? Uncle Anthony hesitated. I don't know for sure, but I bet money she does. Why else would she say what she did? He was right. She knew. That smug little comment about being in my family longer than me wasn't just arrogance. It was the truth. And she was comfortable with it. She had always been comfortable with it. Because she knew my parents would always choose her over me. I felt my pulse hammering in my ears. Thank you for telling me, I murmured. Listen, kid, Uncle Anthony said. I don't know what you're planning to do with this information, but be careful. Your parents, they don't like losing. I knew what he meant. My parents always had to be in control. And if I confronted them, they wouldn't take it well. I hung up the phone and sat there, staring at the wall, my mind a whirlwind of emotions. Betrayal, anger, sadness, and something darker, something colder. Michelle thought she had already won. My parents thought they could make decisions for me, but they were wrong, because now I knew the truth, and I wasn't about to let them dictate my life any longer. This wedding was mine, and I would make sure they never forgot it. I sat in my apartment for a long time, just staring at the wall, replaying everything in my head. The comparisons, the favoritism, the way my parents had always treated Michelle like she was the real daughter, and I was just there. A second choice, a backup plan. And Michelle, she had known all along. She had basked in it, used it to her advantage, and now she was so confident in her place in my family that she didn't even think twice before claiming my wedding as her own. It was like she believed she deserved it more than me. But she didn't. And I was about to remind everyone. This was my life, my wedding, and my moment. I wasn't going to argue with my parents. I wasn't going to cry or beg for their approval or try to earn my place anymore. I had spent my entire life doing that. And where had it gotten me? Second place in my own damn family. No, I was going to do something else. I was going to take everything back. The first thing I did was make some adjustments to my wedding plans. Michelle didn't know it yet, but she had just lost her spot as maid of honor. The next day, I called my best friend, Alina, someone who had been in my life for years, had supported me through everything, and had never treated me like I was less than anyone else. Hey, are you free? I asked. Yeah, what's up? She said. Want to be my maid of honor? There was a pause. Then, wait, are you serious? I thought you were picking Michelle. I smiled to myself. Nope, I never officially asked her. And after thinking about it, I realized there's only one person I actually want by my side on my wedding day. Alina shrieked so loudly, I had to pull the phone away from my ear. Oh my God, yes. Yes, yes, yes. I'd be honored. Step one done. Now for the fun part. I didn't tell Michelle right away. I didn't tell my parents either. Instead, I let the illusion continue for a little longer because I wanted everyone to be there when the truth came out. So, a few days later, I invited Michelle and my parents to brunch at a fancy little restaurant. Jake came with me for moral support, and Alina, who knew exactly what was about to happen, tagged along. Michelle walked in with that usual confident stride, dressed to impress, as always. She barely even looked at me before greeting my mom first. Oh my God, I'm so excited for this wedding, she gushed, sitting down. I've already started looking at dresses. I found this stunning designer gown for the maid of honor, and I interrupted, lifting my mimosa to my lips. You won't need to worry about that anymore. Michelle blinked. What? I smiled sweetly. I've chosen my maid of honor. It's Alina. Silence. For the first time ever, Michelle looked lost. My mom frowned. What? But we already. No. I said firmly, you decided. I never did. And after thinking about it, I realized Alina is the person who's actually been there for me, supported me, and never made me feel like I was in competition for my own family's love. Michelle looked at me like I had just slapped her. But I thought, yeah, I said, I know what you thought. I held her gaze. You thought you had already won. You thought my parents' love meant more than my own choice. But you're wrong. This is my wedding, my decision, my life. And for once, I'm choosing myself. Michelle opened her mouth, then shut it. For the first time in our entire lives, she had nothing to say. My mother, on the other hand, looked pissed. Sweetheart, she started, I don't care what you think, I cut in. I love you both, but I'm done playing this game. I'm done being second place in my own family. I'm done competing for something I should have had all along. Your love and respect. My father sighed, rubbing his temples. Honey, you're being emotional. You and Michelle have been best friends forever. No, Dad. I met his gaze unwavering. Michelle has been your favorite forever. Not mine. I was just the one stuck in the background, watching as you handed over everything that should have been mine. But not anymore. I set my napkin down, glancing at my fiancé. Jake and I have made another decision, too. We're setting boundaries. If you can't accept that I'm my own person, if you can't respect me as I am, not as Michelle's shadow, then you won't be a part of this wedding. My mother looked horrified. You're saying you disinvite your own parents? I held my head high. I'm saying I deserve better. Michelle scoffed, crossing her arms. Wow, so you're just going to throw away everything? Just like that. I tilted my head. That's the difference between you and me, Michelle. You think my life was yours to take. But it never was. She had no response. For the first time, I watched as Michelle, my parents, and their entire delusion crumbled. And it felt liberating. When Jake, Alina, and I walked out of that restaurant, I felt lighter than I had in years. For the first time in my life, I wasn't living under Michelle's shadow. For the first time, I had finally chosen me. And I had never felt more powerful.